So here's a short guide on how to use Ford IDS. So after you've connected to the vehicle, that's quite easy, so I won't show that. You will then end up at this screen. So if you want to read for fault codes, you go to self-test and then hit the tick at the bottom. I got a touch screen, so it'd be easier if I do it like this. And then I want to read all fault codes. And then this will take a little while because this will read all of the systems in the car, and then it'll come back with all of the fault codes, if there are any. So after a short wait, we're now given this screen. So in Ford, PCM is the engine ECU. So in this one we've got no faults. What we do have an electronic power steering fault, so that's not important for remapping, and a general CAN bus error, not significant for what I'm doing today, so I'll just clear all the codes. So when you've got fault codes, it's always good to delete them, go for a drive, and then see what fault codes come back, because a lot of the time faults can be fixed and the mechanics won't clear the codes. And obviously if you clear a fault and it immediately comes back up, that means there's a permanent fault, so you need to fix it. And usually faults that come up immediately are where the sensor is broken or there's a wiring fault. So on this one, the faults will come back up for the EPS and the IC. So these do need to be fixed, but for what I'm doing right now, that's not significant. All that matters for tuning is that there aren't any faults in the engine ECU, which is the PCM. So if we want to exit this one, you press the little tab up there, and then exit and the tick. So if I'm working remotely with you to make a remap, it's really important that you send data to me so I can see what is going on with the performance of the car. So there's an option here for data logger. Hit the tick. And we want powertrain, engine, hit the tick. Set ignition on, the ignition is already on. Okay, now this is where it gets confusing. But so all the grey ones are what is selected. So if you just unselect all of these, because we don't want all of them, and then we'll go through and select what we do want. So what is useful for me? FRP, that's fuel rail pressure. So when you click on something, it tells you what it is at the bottom. So fuel rail pressure. You've got intake air temperature, IAT. That's not that important unless you're trying to diagnose a fault with your mass airflow sensor, or if you fitted a cone filter or an induction kit, it's good to see if it's made your intake temperatures go up. The next we want is MAF, mass airflow. That's really important. MAP, that's manifold absolute pressure. That's the boost pressure in the intake manifold. That's very important. And MFDES, that's mass of fuel desired in milligrams. So that's also very important for me. So the next things, we got RPM. So if you don't get RPM, you won't know this engine speed at which you've recorded all this data. So make sure you tick that. Torque, that's a useful one. There's volume of fuel desired, VFDES, but we don't need that because we got MFDES. So this is more the pump volume than the individual mass per each injector. This one's important if it gives you the option, VGT DC, that's the duty cycle to the turbo solenoid. So once we've got all the parameters that we want, we then hit the tick. And if your engine was running, you will get, well, you see the lines coming along here, these will all be given the live data. So if you want to record, you press the video camera button, But before you do that, we want to set how long will it record for. So hit the clock. So I find best is 30 seconds with a pre-post trigger of 0. So what this does is this records for 0 seconds before you hit record, and 30 seconds after it's recorded the 30 seconds. So you get 60 seconds. So hit the tick, and if you want to rescale things, so important to scale is the boost pressure, and then you hit this one. So look, the limit is set at 172 kPa. So standard, the 1.6 TDCI records about 2.2. So put it to the maximum it let us have. So the maximum it lets record is 2.4. So anything past that, and it won't actually tell us what it's recording. Hit the tick. And other options, if you want to zoom in, you hit this one, makes the box bigger. If you want to zoom out, go like that. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to get on the road. You're going to get to about 1500 RPM in 3rd gear. And then I want you to hit record. And then I want you to immediately hold the throttle down, all the way down without letting it off until you reach about 4,500 RPM. Obviously make sure this is safe for the road you're on and you don't break the speed limit. And then once you're done, it will automatically save. Okay, so now we're ready to record the data. I'm not going to do this on the road because it's very hard to film this and dangerous. So what you would do, you would get in 3rd gear around 1500 RPM, just driving along. Then you hit record, and remember we set the timer before, so it record for about a minute. And if you look at the graphs, you get your power curves there. Okay, so we've recorded our data and now we're ready to look at it. So you press the button down here and you can scroll through different sets of data you've recorded with this arrow. For this car we've only got 2. So you see the nice curves here. So if you want to zoom in, you can use this. So this is our boost pressure, nice and stable. So this is just a stage 1 DPF safe map on a Focus 1.6 110 model. So I think there is a way to zoom in on the x-axis as well, which is I've got no idea. Okay, so if you want to input this data into the Excel sheet that I gave you, so you see here, this is your RPM. So we want to be at roughly 250 RPM intervals. So slide along using the arrow. So now we're at 1526. That's close enough. As long as you write in the exact RPM, and then I can see the data. So then we got our map pressure. That's important. Our math in grams per second, fuel pressure, and mass of fuel injected. So that's useful. And then so 1500, and then the next one 1750, the closest I could get 1738. Then go to 2000. So what's going on with this car? Boost pressure 2.3, which is, this is in absolute pressure. So if you minus 1 bar, this is 1.3 bar of boost, which is exactly what I asked for. Fuel 52 milligrams. And then if you go to the 270, and so basically at each block get as close as you can to the 250 RPM interval, and then just put this into the Excel sheet, and that's about all you need to do.